Hey guys, it's Christine. Welcome back to the channel. This week we're going to talk about God, Emperor of Dune, which is book 4 in the series of Dune books written by Frank Herbert. So in order to discuss God, Emperor, I'm going to now spoil the ending of Children of Dune. So again, if you are wanting to read these at any point, skip over these videos because I can't not talk about what happened at the end of the last one in order to set up what happened here. So it's just easier if you skip them if you are worried about spoilers, because I am going to spoil Children of Dune right now. So at the end of Children of Dune, Leto has been tripping out in the desert for most of the book. He comes back. He allows these sand trout to merge with his body, and they are sandworms in larva form. He goes, and him and his sister go to confront Alia. Alia has been taken over by the consciousness, I guess, of Baron Harkonnen, who died in the first book, but he's back somehow. I don't know. She kills herself to get rid of the Baron. Leto becomes the Emperor of Dune and marries his sister. So that's the end of Children of Dune. Now you've got God, Emperor of Dune. It is 3,500 years later after the events of Children of Dune, and Leto has morphed into a sandworm human hybrid. All that's left of his humanity is his arms and his face, and the rest of him is a big old worm. So he is very much on his trying to see the golden path realized. He believes in the golden path, and part of that means that he is uniting humanity in hating him. So he has become an absolutely oppressive tyrant. Because Dune or Arrakis was terraformed, there's no more desert. And because there's no more desert, all the sandworms have died off. And because all the sandworms have died off, there's no more spice, which is what they need for space travel. So Leto has the stores of, he's got like this big hoard of what's left, and he doles it out very sparingly. So space travel has become almost non-existent. All of the previous powerhouses from the other books, like the Bene Gesserit, the Chom, the Lancerat, they have all lost power over the centuries because of his power. He has gained it all for himself, but his purpose for that is because he believes that uniting humanity in a hatred of him will bring them all together and make them stronger, and therefore that is how they will survive. Leto has also bred a bloodline of the Atreides that culminates in a character named Siona, who is trying to do away with Leto. She sees him as a tyrant, so her purpose is to get rid of him, and he sees her as a key to this sort of combined hatred of everyone. He also has had golas made of Duncan, Idaho for centuries. So God knows how many copies have been made since the first one in Dune Messiah. The Ixians have provided him with a bride. She was sort of bred to be exactly who he needs. And despite knowing that it's not really a trap exactly, but he knows that she was manufactured to be as attractive to him as she is, but he can't help himself. He falls in love with her, and they're going to be married, and that pisses off his army of, he's got like an all-female army called the Fish Speakers. That pisses them off. So yeah, so the story is kind of him trying to maintain the golden path and keep everyone like their concentration on hating him. Then you've got Siona, who is trying to get rid of him and free humanity from him. There is a really good quote in this book, I will say. Like, I really, really liked it. And it is: "It has occurred to me more than once that holy boredom is good and sufficient reason for the invention of free will." I loved that quote. That was very cool. The writing in this one, I enjoyed this one a lot more than Children of Dune. Children of Dune I found just boring as hell, and not a whole lot happens there. So now that is not to say that I loved God Emperor of Dune either. I would say it is not as good as Dune, probably on par with Dune Messiah, definitely better than Children of Dune. I've heard it described that like the first three books sort of form a trilogy, and then God Emperor is a bridge to the last three books that were going to then also be a trilogy. But the problem is Frank Herbert died before he could write the third book. So I am very aware that this is going to end on a cliffhanger. I'm not going to get any answers at the end of this, which is kind of frustrating, but it's fine. Like, at least I'm forewarned. I still want to read them. But yeah, like that sort of makes sense. There's a lot of good spots to stop reading if you don't want to continue on. Like, you can just read Dune. You can read Dune and Dune Messiah. That's a really good place to stop, because that's kind of like almost sort of the ending of the Paul Atreides story, except that it's not really, because then he shows up again in Children of Dune. You could stop at the end of Children of Dune, and you could stop at the end of God Emperor, because I don't want to give away the ending yet until I get to the next book. So I will say at the end of God Emperor, something happens that causes what's known as the scattering. And that's where, humans scatter to the winds, basically. So that would be a good place to stop too. I enjoyed the writing of this one a lot more. I found it a lot more engaging. But the other side of that is that I also found it to be just more pontificating between Leto and a very small cast of characters this time. Like, compared to the other books, which had like, I don't know, 30 people, 40 characters, I would say there's 5 to 10 people in this book that are sort of the main characters you're invested in. So it does help to have less characters, but the other thing is then you get Leto talking out his ass or out his wormhole the whole book to the same guy over and over again. And I do feel like maybe if I was a philosophy major, I would have gotten more out of it, but I'm not. I must be stupid, because I did not get a lot of stuff that was going on. And it felt like on more than one occasion there would be, something was sort of revealed without saying it. And then another character would be like, "Oh, is that what that is?" And I'm sitting there reading it like, what? Can somebody please explain it to me? Because I'm the dummy that doesn't get what's happening here. So that was frustrating. It just felt like an awful lot of Leto, pontificating and then berating characters for not being as smart as him. And I'm just like, well, that's me, because I don't know what you're talking about. I don't get what's happening. So that was kind of frustrating. But the final act of the story was really, really good. Like, I will say, there's a couple of points in this book that are dumb as hell. One of them is there's some pretty egregious anti-gay stuff, like homophobia going on towards the end of the book from Duncan, Idaho, which I was not cool with. That did not age well. And also, there's a scene where a lady has an orgasm from watching a man climb a cliff face. Okay, Frank, sure, that's all it takes. So there's some weird stuff in it. Like, of course it's weird. You've got a guy that's mostly a worm with a human face that's going to marry a lady and whatever. The books get real weird. That's not to say bad, but they get really weird. I appreciate the scope of this one. It did feel like it stepped out of the shadow of the first book, because the first book is an undisputed classic, and that's got to be hard to follow up. So I did feel like this one really sort of felt like it was standing on its own 2 feet a little bit more than the other, than Messiah and Children of Dune have done. I appreciated that. It's very ambitious in its scope, and it is a lot better written, I feel, than the last one was. So I didn't hate it. I did enjoy that. But the thing is that it just felt like, uh, I mean, Duncan Idaho is incredibly unlikable in this one, and Siona's not particularly likable, and Leto is just ugh. And it's just the Atreides are back on their bullshit. I'm gonna take a little break. Honestly, I'm sorry if you have been enjoying the reviews of the Dune series, and I will finish it, but I need a break from the Atreides and their horseshit. To be quite honest, it's not a world that I want to live in for too long at a time. So I read the first two last summer. I should say I reread Dune last summer, then I read Messiah. This summer, I have read Children of Dune and God Emperor, and I feel like I need a little break before I tackle the last two, which apparently are super horny and super weird. So I will get to them, I promise, but I'm going to take a little break for a few weeks, I think. I just feel like this book promised us a lot of answers and just never delivered on most of them. Leto mentions on more than one occasion that, the Golden Path is the best way forward for humanity because he has seen what happens. He's seen what the alternative is. But it's never explained to anybody what is the alternative, what does happen. So there's just an awful lot of questions, and maybe you might get one answer, but not very often. And it's not satisfying, and I'm not rooting for anybody, so I did enjoy it more than the last one, but I can't say I loved it either. I appreciated it for what it was. I feel like it was better written. It was ambitious. It has some really good ideas in it. But did I enjoy reading it? Yes and no. It's a very mixed bag for me. So unfortunately, I can't really give you a concrete answer there. It'll sort of depend. If I ever reread it, I think I would get more out of it. So it might be a book that's worth rereading, and revisiting down the line. But for now, I need a break from Arrakis. So I'm going to put a pin in it until I tackle the last two books. So thank you very much for watching the last couple of reviews. And I promise I will get back to it eventually, just not for a little while. All right, that's it for me. Thanks for watching.